So, a new big update for Splatoon 3 was announced recently, which is surprising because we thought the Grand Festival was going to be the last big update, and it hasn't even been a year since that event. I think Nintendo's trying to inject some life back into the game as an appetizer to switch to players before the newest game, Splatoon Raiders, is served up. Now, Splatoon Raiders is the first spin-off game to the regular Splatoon series, and that presents some new opportunities. You see, spin-offs don't have to follow the same rules as their parent series. They can, in some ways, have more fun. They mix up the usual formula with new gameplay, and stories that might not have fit into the main series. Pokemon has done this in recent years with their Legends series, which, on the surface, is like regular Pokemon, but there's different rules to the combat, different stats, and move selections. The way you progress through the game is different too. My point is, spin-offs allow game developers on a long-running series to break out of their box and run wild with creative freedom. For that reason, Splatoon Raiders has me excited, because the core gameplay of Splatoon has started to feel a little stagnant? Don't get me wrong, the main Splatoon series has always had great gameplay, but the sequels have never strayed too far from the original formula. Splatoon 3 did add new moves, like Squid Jump and Squid Roll, and each new game adds 2 new weapon classes, which are always fun to try out, but it never feels like a huge leap in the gameplay. In some ways, this is good because you know you're likely to enjoy new entries. However, series stagnation can also result in player boredom later. One element of Splatoon that I believe needs a change is the weapon system. The current system functions, but it feels awkward. If I'm using my favorite weapon, the Splatana, and I want a more powerful one, why do I need to buy a completely new weapon just to have better stats or different sub-weapons? And what if I like the look of one weapon, but it doesn't have the same stats or sub-weapons I like? I guess I'll just admire it from afar? Giving players more freedom to make their own weapon could result in a more streamlined and personalized system. Now, we know nothing about how the gameplay will work in Splatoon Raiders, but we know that we will play as a mechanic. And what do mechanics do? They make stuff. My theory is that Splatoon Raiders will allow the player to create and customize their own weapons. This visual design of the new weapon in the game suggests a more cobbled-together style, almost as if you found random objects like soda bottles and kitchenware around the beach and tied them together. By nature of it being a spin-off, Raiders could have very different yet familiar shooting gameplay. So with that preamble out of the way, here's what I think the new gameplay will be, or at least how I would design it. Ever since Zelda Breath of the Wild, we've seen more material gathering in Nintendo games regardless of the genre. Most notably, Animal Crossing New Horizons has you collecting rocks and wood to make furniture and tools. Another example is Pokemon Legends Arceus, where you collect rocks, plants, and fruit to make Pokeballs and other items. Pikmin 4, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and Zelda Echoes of Wisdom also have material gathering to craft items. From what we've been shown in the Splatoon Raiders trailer, the visual design of the entire game, especially the technology, has this messy and patchwork vibe. Even the boat looks like a quilt of wood planks and metal plating. You can feel the seams in any construction, encouraging you how to imagine how it must have been built, and how you might be able to build something like it. This intentional design could reflect Raiders' gameplay. In this shot, we see random junk scattered across the beach. Maybe the player collects trash, cleaning up the beach and picking some rare materials to use later for building. But what happens when you've collected all the common materials you would need for building and inevitably only focus on collecting rare items? The game could maintain the focus on collecting all the trash by continuing to make common materials important to building recipes. You just need to collect more of them. Perhaps there's a bonus received from collecting up the entire beach in a single session? Keeping the environment clean, or just collecting all the shiny things, can also feel good on its own, right? Let me preface this by saying customization doesn't fit every game. Mario Kart World, for instance, has ditched the kart customization that made Mario Kart 8 special. Instead, we get pre-balanced karts. This felt disappointing to me initially, but I quickly came around to the concept when I realized that this drastically reduces the amount of time you spend in menus before a match. Mario Kart is all about speed. You want to get racing as soon as possible. If 4 people at once are trying to fine-tune their vehicles, that drags down the pacing before you even enter a race. Only allowing freedom with character plus vehicle pairings reduces menu time while still allowing for unique playstyles. Splatoon has more moments of breathing in between matches compared to Mario Kart. You have to wait a few minutes in between matches. You eventually will exit battling to visit shops and customize your character. The game encourages this contrast between steady and fast pacing that feeds into the main gameplay. Whatever you do in shops and character customization can affect how your character will perform on the battlefield. So why not give the player ultimate creativity and strategy when it comes to preparing? We don't want to go to crazy levels of customization, but Splatoon Raiders could serve as a way to break the formula. Based on the materials you gather, you could choose a weapon class. Let's see, I have a soda bottle and a funnel. I guess I can make a gun? And maybe it's not just soda bottles, you could find boxes or balloons. A variety of materials could result in the same class of weapon but give it different stats. Finding rarer materials results in a stat upgrade and, in special cases, new powers. This might result in sacrificing how you want the weapon to look in favor of greater value in materials. However, I feel like the fact that you made the weapon with stuff you personally found gives it that added sense of personal choice. Perhaps allowing the player to paint their weapons in different colors can make it look unique to their individual tastes. Also, I want to point out that there's 2 shots in the trailer of Fry tossing a screw up and down, suggesting that there is indeed crafting? Maybe. I like sub-weapons, but what I don't like is how you can't choose which ones your weapon has. There have been many times in Splatoon 3 where I liked how a gun played, but I didn't like the sub-weapons, so I ended up not playing that weapon anymore. I get that certain sub-weapon pairings could result in overpowered weapons, but I think there's a way to avoid that problem. Just lock certain sub-weapons behind certain sub-weapon classes, and similarly, disable certain types of sub-weapon pairings. I feel like it's a simple fix. Blocking sub-weapon choice is the most effective way to prevent unbalanced power, but if there's a formula that the developers follow when they're matching sub-weapons to main weapons, why not implement that formula into the gameplay? Give the player the rules and give us room to play around in that box. Leveling up weapons isn't a new idea to the series. The story mode in Splatoon 3 allows you to upgrade your gear and weapons. However, this is exclusive to the story mode and doesn't affect the online battle mode. Raiders' presentation suggests that the entire game will be a single-player campaign. This presents an opportunity to have all progression affect the entire game instead of just part of it. Leveling up your weapon just makes way more sense than buying a new weapon. There have been some weapons in regular battles of Splatoon 3 that I wish I could upgrade because I enjoy the way they play and the sub-weapon pairing. But the gun already comes pre-balanced and, in that way, maxed out. This system has some advantages. You don't need to spend time fine-tuning your weapon, but it can result in disappointment if there isn't a specific weapon option available in the shop that you want. So just let the weapons and gear level up like they do in story mode. It clearly works there, why not implement it into the main game? If there is online multiplayer, I can see how this could become a problem. Having a maxed out weapon against a bunch of lower level players could feel unbalanced. However, if the system just read weapon levels and balanced matched modes in that way, it could fix the issue. Okay, so this is unrelated to the weapon system theories, but I thought it'd be interesting to mention and theorize about. So the area we're exploring in this game is called the Spiralite Islands. What's Spiralite? Well, Google says that they're fossil spirals of an extinct species of gastropod. So the name of the islands is most likely related to whatever creature was shown midway through the trailer. Gastropods can be snails or slugs, so we might be fighting a snail. I also thought a nautilus might be a cool idea, but apparently they're not gastropods. It's a shame because they look really cool. The eyeball sort of looks like it could be coming out of a snail-like eye stalk. It would be interesting to see how the developers make a snail difficult and intimidating to fight. I'm assuming it's a boss since it was presented in a menacing way. Splatoon Raiders could shake up the core series formula in many ways, and throughout everything I've discussed, more freedom and creativity has been the common thread. Crafting and more customization would shake things up, while still resulting in the same splatting action we've come to love in the series. But what do you think, dear viewer? Do you have any ideas? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, everyone. I didn't plan on making a video game theory/trailer analysis video, but I realized I had way too many ideas that might be worth sharing. At any rate, it's fun to speculate. Oh yeah, and I was asked to give a shout out to my friend who goes by ZenBoys555 on YouTube. There you go, Zen Boy. You're famous now.